been created is going to be a great help. And I think that kind of 24/7 access to information is going to be a great help. It takes time to disseminate that information. The VA is the largest healthcare system, I think, in the world. So it takes time to disseminate all this information out to everyone. And everyone has their own little fiefdoms, possibly, within the VISMs and the way they like to do things. Once we determine and are able to stabilize everyone with the same core values and the same core beliefs, the same core strategies, then we can go out and they can tactically do what they need to do within their VISNs. And I think that's the way it's going to be education both to the patient and to the people managing the VA centers, and continued education like these town hall meetings, like the information that's on the website, like the information that gets sent out to those people that are managing this care.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you again. You've provided some wonderful testimony, and I appreciate each one of you. Captain Basic, if you would tell me a little bit about why you think Glenn chose not to contract with the VA.
Well, Glenn certainly tried to contract with the VA, and in the past he was a contractor on their books. And Dennis might know more details to the story, but at a certain point, I think when they transitioned to a electronic bid system for renewing the contract, Glenn was not privy to the new system for establishing or renewing that contracting relationship, so he was taken off their contracting role.
So he provides good health care. You, the patient, appreciates the care you're receiving, and because of a computer glitch, he was not able to contract. Is that what I hear?
Yes, sir. And, of course, that's the situation as I understand it, and it might be more than a computer glitch, but basically it's a paperwork issue where his contract was not renewed. And he's very active in the state. It's not like, he was the immediate past president of the state certification board, so he's a well-known provider locally.
Mr. Clark, you look like you want to add to that.
Well,
and I'd love for you to.
Well, again, I don't know. As Mr. Basic said, I don't have 100% of the input, but I believe what happened is a similar story, and again, I'm relating it secondhand, as to what happened in Houston. The RFP was placed out there on a government website, and I received an email from someone one day telling me that no one in Houston replied. I find that a little bit hard to believe, but no one in Houston replied because nobody knew it was out there. You had to reach out to that government website. My guess is that Glenn didn't go to the website at the right time to find out that he needed to submit the RFP by a certain date and the way that it needed to be submitted. And because of that, he was eliminated as a contractor provider by not responding the way he needed to in a timely fashion, even though he was not made aware of that fact. I'm speculating that that's the issue, because the story, as Mr. Basic relays it, is so familiar to what I heard from some folks in Houston. We actually hired someone in our company to watch those emails and let us know when the RFP would come out, so that we wouldn't miss that deadline.
And the smaller the business, the harder it is to have someone monitoring government websites.
Without question.
Yeah, especially here in front of the Small Business Committee. Has someone relayed these problems to Mr. Downs? Because this morning he sounds like he really wants to work with the provider community. Has anyone related this problem?
Glenn has been in contact with our Vision director. We're at Vision 7 in Atlanta, is headquartered there, and I know he's spoken with him often about it.
Sounds like this is something Chairman Braley and I may be able to work together on and try to find a solution. Moving on down the line, Mr. Rogers, you spoke of Jack. You said he had 4 prostheses. Why did he have so many?
Well, I think what happened was that, according to Jack, is that there was such an emphasis paid on providing him quick care and high technology in a very busy environment at Walter Reed that it was very difficult for him to make the adjustments as an amputee that he needed to make, and he didn't have a lot of help doing it. And the next thing he knew, he was being shipped back to Kansas and had prostheses that he was asked to sign for that really didn't relate to anything that he was hoping to do when he got back. And he made a fairly quick transition through the VA system, at least from what I understand is normally the case, and had a single provider available to him who really didn't serve his needs well. I think by everybody's estimation, he wasn't cared for well by that particular provider in the VA system, because he was referred to me through the Wounded Warriors at Fort Riley, and he had already transitioned into the VA system. The way he was able to do that is that he maintained his employment on the base. So they asked me as a non-contracting VA provider in the area if I would see him. And I think the emphasis, the lesson to be learned from this example is that the care of a local prosthetic and orthotic professional, where an amputee knows that they're not going to see somebody for a brief period of time and then there's going to be a huge distance between them where that relationship is going to end. The local relationship fosters development in communication, and there's an interest taken on the part of the prosthetist in that individual, and the individual knows that. And that is the model that has existed for 100 years in the United States and provides the civilian population with excellent prosthetic care. And that model needs to be promulgated throughout the VA system.
I hear you saying Jack didn't get the care that he deserved and was due. A follow-up to that, do you think it was a good use of taxpayer dollars if he actually received, and we can be open and frank here, that's what we're trying to learn, is it good use of taxpayer dollars to buy 4 prostheses that ultimately end up costing taxpayer dollars, and then you end up with the 5th limb doing the job?
Of course not, but I also think when you, as quickly as I say that, I don't think that example is reflective of the balance of care that's received through Walter Reed or Bethesda. And I think in this particular instance, it could have been timing or the influx of people. It could have been Jack's personality and some of the adjustment disorders that he was going through with this multiple trauma and not being without, being without his family and so on. It's not as easy to say, gee, he just wasn't served well, and that's the norm of care there, and it was not a good expenditure of taxpayer dollars. I think what it really illustrates is the importance of that communication, because I know of many veterans that I've seen in Kansas who got excellent care and appropriate technology and felt like the care they received coming through Walter Reed was exceptional. So although I don't think it's a good use of taxpayer dollars in this instance, I don't think that's reflective of the care that occurs at Walter Reed.
So Jack was outside the norm,
I would say so, yes.
In your opinion. Okay. Mr. Guth, you talked about Tom. Why do you think his new microprocessor was denied?
Well, he went to the clinic without telling me, so I wasn't there as a patient advocate for him. And that's when they prescribed him and told him that the microprocessor knees were kind of experimental. They broke down constantly. He probably wouldn't enjoy it. Go back to what you have. You did well for 35, 40 years. You don't need anything different. So he came into me with the prescription. I said, well, did you? And he says, I asked him for a microprocessed knee, and they told me no. So I said, well, I don't think they have that right, but why don't, so he went back the next day, not in a clinic, and talked to the prosthetic chief, and the prosthetic chief told him that you get this leg first, and then you can go ahead and have your microprocessed knee made, but first you get your spare leg, and then, but you won't have to go through clinic to get this new microprocessed knee. You've already been through clinic, okay? So he came running into me and says, yes, you have to bill me this one first, but then I get my microprocessed knee. I said, well, great. Let me get on the phone to the VA and make sure that we're all on the same page. I got on the phone to the VA, and they said, no way. This man is not getting a microprocessed knee without coming back through clinic. And then he went back two more days requesting the same thing and was turned down. And finally, his health got bad, and he had to go back home, and he couldn't pursue it any further.